Did you know the average person is consuming a credit card worth of microplastic each week? That's equivalent to 5 grams every single week. And a dinner's plate weight, 250 grams, more than a half a pound of microplastics every single year. These microplastics are now being linked to infertility, heart disease, cancer, brain degeneration, autoimmunity, chronic pain, and more. They are a significant issue, and you need to know how to avoid them and how to detox them out of your body. That's what I'm going to go through in today's video. You're going to learn all about microplastics, and I'm going to show you exactly how to detox them out of your body so you don't have detrimental health effects that are caused by these compounds that are ubiquitous everywhere in our society. Now, we know that plastics in general are a problem. I mean, they contain things like BPA, parabens, and phthalates that are all endocrine disruptors or xenoestrogens. They mimic estrogen in our body, and that causes hormonal imbalance. Estrogen is a hormone that tells us to grow, right? And so when we're getting all this signal in our system from our natural hormones, but then also from all these endocrine disruptors to grow, right? That ends up causing us to be overweight, obese, right? It ends up causing things like breast cancer, ovarian, uterine cancer, prostate cancer for men, significant issues. And so this is a big issue, and microplastics, okay, they're different than BPA, parabens, and phthalates. They're smaller than 5 millimeters. And the scary thing about microplastics, you can't see them. Like we know with BPA, parabens, and phthalates, typically it's on the ingredient list, or it's in, like if you're consuming something that is in a plastic bottle, we know it's going to have some of those compounds in them. Whereas microplastics, they're hard to avoid because they're all over the place. They're so small. You have things like polyethylene, polypropylene, PVC, okay? These are commonly used in plastics, and they're in the air we breathe. They're in what we put on our skin and in our food. And what they do is they poison our mitochondria. And when our mitochondria becomes poisoned, it can't use fat for fuel. And now these mitochondria become old, they become damaged, and they become what we call senescent or zombie cells. And that increases inflammation in our body. You got to remember, lower mitochondrial function means poor fat burning, and it causes blood sugar and insulin imbalances. Now, there was a study done at Uppsala University in 2023. They found that women with high plastic exposure had a 63% greater risk of type 2 diabetes because, again, it causes hormonal disruption. These are xenoestrogens, endocrine disruptors. Another study, this is out of the New England Journal of Medicine in 2024, found that 58% of the people with arterial plaques had microplastics in them. So they took this whole group of people that had arterial plaques and they looked at the components of the plaque, and they found 58% had microplastics in them, literally plastic particles lodged in their arteries. And those people that had them, compared to the group that had plaque but didn't have the microplastics, so the group that had the microplastics in their plaque, were 4.5 times more likely to suffer heart attacks or strokes and ultimately to die. So the microplastics were aggravating. So both groups of people had arterial plaque. So they had inflammation in their blood vessels, but the inflammation was higher in the individuals that had microplastics in those blood vessels, end up leading to a chronic event, right? Or I should say a cataclysmic event, a heart attack, a stroke, and ultimately to death. So this is a really serious issue. Think about our brain. Microplastics now, they're getting into our brain by crossing the blood-brain barrier. A February 2025 study documented a 50% increase in brain microplastic concentration over 8 years, with the average human brain now harboring approximately 7 grams of microplastic particles. So that means between 2026 and 2024, we had a huge increase, right, in samples in the amount of microplastics. So that means that we're getting more and more of these microplastics into our bodies now than ever before. And when we looked at those concentrations, they were between 7 to 30 times higher in samples from dementia patients. So compared to the average individual, an individual with dementia had 7 to 30 times more microplastics. That means that the inflammation they were having in their brain may have very well been mediated by these microplastics. So we know obviously there's a link between neurodegeneration, dementia, Alzheimer's, and microplastic levels in the brain. And this isn't fringe science, it's real, it's peer-reviewed, and it's urgent. If plastic is in your food, it's in your brain, it's in your hormones, it's impacting metabolic function. So the first step is to reduce plastic usage. Guys, if we're using plastic for everything, we're gonna end up with a lot of microplastics, a lot of these xenoestrogens in our system. So the more we can reduce our exposure to plastic, the better. Get good water filtration, right? Get a good reverse osmosis system or a distilled water system at your house, and drink out of glass cups, right? Have glass carrying bottles, or stainless steel works well too, right? Especially for something hot, like if you're making coffee or something. Use a stainless steel bottle, stainless steel or glass. That is what we're looking for, okay? Now, one of the issues is the top of a lot of glass, like a carrying jar. Like for example, if you go and you buy a bottle of kombucha or coconut water kefir, Kavita, or something like that, and you want to reuse that bottle, which is what we do in our family. We'll reuse a lot of these glass bottles. The lid on the bottle is painted and it has microplastics in it. So what you want to do is make sure when you're getting that water, right, that it's not coming in contact with the painted lid. That's key, so you don't get more microplastics in your water. That's super, super critical. Also, oils, sauces, right? Any sort of liquids, we don't want it in a plastic bottle. If you're getting lemon juice, don't get it in the plastic bottle. You're getting olive oil, don't get it in the plastic bottle. You're getting tomato sauce, get it in glass. Make sure these things are coming in glass. That's gonna significantly reduce your exposure to these plastics. And anything that you're cooking, like one of the worst things is the microwavable meals, because those things, not only are they in plastic or like they have like a plastic lined cardboard, but then you're cooking it as well, right? And that cooking is releasing more and more of these plastic compounds into our food. So that is first. And then we got to stop eating processed foods in general, okay? So start eating real foods. And the more local you get foods, the better. If you're constantly putting everything in like a plastic bag, it's not really the best idea, right? Get some of your produce, don't put it in a plastic bag, just put it in your cart. Wash it when you get home. That way you're avoiding more plastic exposure. Again, anything that's wet especially, right? Anything that's wet or, like pickles, for example. If you're getting pickles, get it in a glass jar. If you're looking for, artichokes or hearts of palm or something like that, get it in glass. Also, try to avoid cans, right? Like alumina, your typical canned foods, because that all has BPA as well, right? So there's BPA in the lining. There's also microplastics in the lining. So try to go with glass, anything that's carried in glass, particularly with liquids. That's really important. Okay. Also, hygiene products. So look out for parabens, phthalates, things like that in all the different hygiene products out there: soaps, shampoos, beauty products, stuff like that. Laundry products. One of my favorite brands for laundry is Truly Free, because their laundry products don't have chemicals in them. They're great, right? That's what I use, my family uses, the Truly Free laundry detergent. Okay, we'll have a link, in the show notes and everything for that. Also, good air filtration. I like the Air Doctor. We're breathing in microplastics. Because they're so small, less than 5 millimeters, they can get in the air and we can breathe them in. So having a good air filter at your house will really help. Spending more time outdoors in nature, that helps, right? Because that's typically gonna be clean air, especially if you're around a lot of trees or in a foresty area. That's gonna be cleaner air. And then also, this is really important, ditch your nonstick pans, your Teflon style pans. They're a huge source. There's a study out of Flinders University in 2024. They found a single scratch on a Teflon coated pan can release over 9,000 microplastic particles into your food. That's crazy. So you gotta ditch the nonstick or get like a really good ceramic set. I like one from a company called Chef's Foundry. I'll have a link in the notes. That is a great brand. They don't have the microplastics in their nonstick. You can also use, of course, stainless steel, cast iron. They're not gonna have microplastics as well. Now, how do we detox these microplastics? Number one is we gotta open our drainage and detox pathways, right? How do we do that? We can do it through using electrolytes. Time in nature, right, actually helps open our drainage and detox pathways. Electrolytes, hydrating our body well, adding in good electrolytes, magnesium, things like that, keeps things moving through our body. We want things moving through our system like a river rather than staying stagnant like a pond. If you ever go around a stagnant pond, it kind of has this terrible smell. Like it's a putrefying smell. It's a smell associated with fermentation. That's what's happening because the water is stagnant. Whereas when you go to a river, it has like a crisp, clean smell to it. And that's because the water is moving. That's what we want in our body. We want things moving through, good circulation. We want to pee and poop our way to good health. So we should be hydrating a lot and going to the bathroom often to move things through our body. We also want to support our liver. We can do things like castor oil packs. Get castor oil, you can get a flannel, you can just buy the whole pack. This is the easiest way to do it. Okay, Queen of Thrones is a great brand. They have the whole the castor oil pack. You put your castor oil on the pack and you put it up over your liver. That's gonna dilate the bile ducts. Now, you could just rub the oil on if you wanted to, but if you put clothes on it, the oil will literally stick to the clothes and ruin your clothes. So it's better to just use the pack and then you can put a shirt on or something over it. And the pack will allow it to penetrate deep into your system, open up, dilate the bile ducts, and allow bile to flow through. Bile is how we detox these microplastics. So getting it moving through the bile. There's also some good herbs, things like milk thistle, dandelion, ginger. Those are all great for liver detoxification, right? So opening up, moving things through the liver and allowing the liver to deactivate and detoxify these chemical compounds. Also, infrared sauna. Now, you can get out, especially in the summer, and sweat a lot outside. That's wonderful. You're going to get exposed to infrared in the sunshine. But also having an infrared sauna in your home, and you can sweat daily, and the infrared will help push toxins out. So the heat, along with the infrared wavelengths getting into your system, will help push these toxins out and get them out of your system. And I also recommend a detox binder. There's different binders that will actually grab hold of microplastics, as well as the other things we talked about, parabens, phthalates, BPA, and help move them out of the body. Things like charcoal, activated charcoal, zeolite, fulvic and humic acids, these bioactive carbons, that's what they're designed to do, is actually trap, bind, and pull these things out. Now, my favorite one, the one that I use and I have my family use, is something called HMET binder. It means heavy metals and environmental toxins. And it's great for getting microplastics out of our system. So that's the one I personally use. There's a lot of good binders out there. Another good one I like is something called GI Detox, which is also very helpful. It's got the fulvic, humic acid, zeolite, charcoal in it. So find a good binder, right? Make sure you're hydrating, sweating as much as you can, exercise, so you're breathing out toxins. All those things are really important. Ultimately, what we have to understand is microplastics are a serious problem. And we need to do what we can to reduce our plastic burden and our exposure to these hormone disruptors. Hopefully this video today gave you the information you need to go out and start reducing your microplastic burden. Please share this with anybody you know and you care about. Microplastics are it's a huge public health issue, and we need more attention given to this serious health topic, and we need to start detoxifying our bodies so we can heal and thrive in life. Hopefully, you got the information you need today, and we'll see you in a future video. Be blessed.